Boom. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Was it Sunday? Yeah, happy Sunday to you all, and welcome to another live beer review. So today we're going to be taking a look at a brewery that I've never had in their beers before. I've heard a lot about them when it comes to a couple friends of mine who I've talked to on Instagram about, like, when I get into, like, the fruited sour conversation. These guys definitely come up in the conversation a lot, but this is going to be my first one trying from them. So we got one here from Southern Grist Brewing Co. over in Nashville, Tennessee, and we got one called their Imperial Cherry Mango Hill. So it's an Imperial fruited, I don't know if it's an Imperial fruited sour, I think it just might be a regular fruited sour. Coming in at a 7.3% ABV, and it's an Imperial sour brewed with lactose, sweet cherry, mango, and peach. So this definitely one to catch my attention just because, of course, when I see cherry and sours, I'm expecting a nice amount of tartness, but this one they actually used sweet cherry, so maybe it could have been like a maraschino kind of thing going on in there, but mango and peach are definitely going to be some really interesting flavor combinations going through with this one. And with it being my first beer I've ever reviewed from Southern Grist, I'm pretty damn excited just because I've heard a lot about these guys, and finally being able to try one from them when it comes to their fruited sours gives me all this excitement in the world. So we're finally going to do that here today. So without further ado, let's crack this guy open and see what we're going to get on the nose, because I'm expecting maybe the cherry might still bring a little bit of a tartness to it. I'm thinking with the fruits in here, with it can still being a sour, of course there's citric acid in there, so that's going to bring tartness, of course. And then maybe the cherry might add a little bit of tart elements, but I'm thinking maybe between the mango and the peach you might get a little bit of a tartness from there. I'm thinking more on the end of the peach a little bit, if it's like an unripened kind of fruit situation. But without further ado, let's crack this guy open and see what we get on the nose, because I'm curious. Of course, before you do this kind of stuff, before I even crack this open, a little bit of advice I always kind of bring out when it comes to dealing with fruited sours. When you purchase them, you always want to drink them fresh. You always want to have them in the fridge as soon as you get them, just because there's fruit puree in there, and that stuff has the capability of still fermenting while in the can. So you want to make sure it's in a cold place to where it won't really ferment that much. And then when it comes to it possibly bursting on you later on, because if you start noticing the can not having any give to it, that means there's CO2 building up in the can from fermentation, and then when you open it, it's going to kind of burst on you, and it's not a fun experience. I've had it happen a couple times. It's not fun. So what we usually do with this one, what I always recommend is put it in the fridge, of course. First of all, when you get it, drink it fresh, and then when you're taking it out of the fridge for when you're about to drink it, just kind of roll it on the counter, a couple rolls, just because all the fruit puree is going to be sitting at the bottom, and you want to get that stuff circulated in the beer, so when you pour, it's going to be a very, very nice, even pour. And what I like to do, I don't know if other people do it, but when I'm bringing it to where I'm drinking it, I always go like this, just because all the stuff that was sitting at the bottom is now going to start circulating to the top and the middle and all that kind of stuff, and you're just going to have an evenly circulated fruited sour this way. So let's crack this guy open and see what we get on the nose. So let's see. It's definitely not, I don't know if just my sinuses are a little bit backed up right now, but it's definitely really, really light on the nose. Getting a little bit of the peach, definitely getting that mango kind of in there. I'm not really getting much of the cherry on the nose, to be honest. But yeah, it's definitely getting that like almost slightly peachy, not really having many aromas going on in it when it comes to opening it in the can at all. But with there being cherry in there, I'm expecting the color of this one to be kind of in like a darkish red kind of situation. I don't think it's going to be purple, but I'm just expecting maybe a nice kind of like a murkiness to it, like a dark red murkiness. So let's see how this guy pours. Okay, yeah, definitely has more of like a darker kind of red to it. So it makes me think that maybe they used a dark cherry. I don't think it may have been like a maraschino kind of style, but because this one definitely has the reminiscence of a color of like a really nice dark cherry to it. So you're definitely getting a little bit of purples, a little bit of reds in there. But yeah, that's just a nice dark Imperial sour. Okay, definitely after I pour it, the peach is coming out a lot more. Yeah, it smells definitely peachy on the nose, so I'm wondering if that cherry is just going to be on the flavors and everything like that. So without further ado, let's give this guy a try. So cheers, everybody. Happy Sunday. Okay, it's definitely a little bit more mellow than I thought it would be. Definitely getting the peach coming through. It's adding like the peach fuzzy kind of mouthfeel to it. Mango's coming through on the middle, and definitely it's not as sweet as I thought it would. The flavors on this one are actually really, really light, which is surprising, just because maybe with that kind of bright cherry flavor. I was expecting like a nice kind of pungent sweetness with the lactose being added in there, adding like a little bit of a creamy mouthfeel. But definitely has a nice mixture of creamy and a little bit of like bubbly effervescence to it. Overall, it's definitely pretty well balanced. It's not too overly in any kind of aspect when it comes to, it's not too much mango, not too much peach, not too much cherry. It's definitely just a nice subtle balance. It's definitely not like that kind of punch you in your face kind of fruited sour that you would get from like Drecker or Evil Twin every once in a while, and all breweries like RAR, 450 North. So when it comes to having those heavy fruited sours like that, you're not going to be, in my opinion, you're not going to get as much of a punch you in the face fruited flavor as with this one as you are with those other kinds. But overall, it's still really solid. Definitely really refreshing. A decent tartness. I think on my tartness scale, I'd probably give it maybe like a 1.75, almost a 2 out of 5. Just because it's not too tart. You're definitely letting those kind of sweeter flavors and lighter notes of the fruits kind of speak for itself a little bit. But overall, yeah, it's still pretty solid. I kind of wish it was a little bit more of like a pungent in your face kind of fruited sour, but overall, yeah, it's light. It's not really boozy, even though it's like a 7.4 or 7.6. What did it say on the can? 7.3%. So I would consider this in the sessionable range, because it's, once you start getting into like the 7.5 and above, that's when I would start kind of considering it not being as sessionable. But this one, it's, with how refreshing it is, this is definitely something you can be able to drink pretty damn easily, in my opinion. It's, for anybody who's like a fan of not those beerish flavors, this might be actually one for you, just because you're actually only getting those like fruit notes in it. They're lighter fruit notes, but you're not going to get that like token beer flavor that non-craft beer heads and fans out there, just that's what their first thing they describe beer with, is just having it tastes like beer. This is definitely one of those where it's not going to be like that. So overall, pretty damn solid. Definitely getting a little bit more of like the mango peach coming through a little bit more as it like sits in the glass a little bit as it starts kind of warming up a little bit. The cherry is definitely the most subtle note of it. Of course, I think it's mostly in there for color and a little bit of sweetness, but it's definitely the lightest kind of flavor that I'm getting from this one. So let's look here on Untappd, and of course, this one is doing the stupid thing that it does where they well, actually, I mean, some of these ones on here, maybe I would consider, but Dry County's on here, and I always see Dry County on a lot of different sour ones, but we'll take a look at it this time and see what we think. So Untappd does a really cool thing to where if you can't get your hands on this one, they show similar beers to where you can get you might be able to get your hands on one of those, and it might give you similar flavor profiles and all that stuff if you can't get your hands on this one from Southern Grist. So let's look at the similar beers that Untappd shows here, and maybe we can find one that will be similar that may give you a similar drinking experience. So we got one here from Pillager Rue Brewing, which is the Quarantine Dream, which is a fruited sour with mango, vanilla. Okay, so that's just a mango kind of fruited sour. I don't know if it's really going to be similar to this, because you're not going to get those peach flavors. You're not going to be getting a little bit of cherry sweetness. We got one here from Dry County Brewing Company called the Swipe Ripe, which is a fruited sour. Just that's all it says. It says Imperial fruited sour. And let's see, we got their cherry lemonade fruited sour, which they don't really have any description on. Dry County is actually out of Kennesaw, Georgia, so looks like they have a decent amount of beers. And then we got one here from Frequentem Brewing Co. called the Heavily Fruited Sour Ale Red, White, and Blue, which is red raspberry, white Niagara grape, and blueberry, which I wouldn't really consider this one in that kind of realm as well, just because those berry flavors are definitely going to be a lot different than the mango and the peach and the little bit of sweet cherry you get in this one. Let's see, we got one here from SJ Brewing called the Small Batch Special Peach Cobbler, which you might get a little bit of peachy. You're definitely going to get similar notes in this with the peach, but I'm not thinking with it coming to be a peach cobbler, you're not going to be getting that cinnamon stick kind of almost like desserty peachiness that is going to come with that one. And then we got one here called from Fourscore Beer Co. called We Can Do It, which is a fruited sour. Let's see, it's based off their Soft Swerve series, and let's see what's on here. So we got creamy base, fresh pineapple, passion fruit, and a nice pop of exotic yuzu juice. So that's interesting. That one's definitely I would love to try that one just because I'm curious what the yuzu would do with it, kind of give that umami kind of flavor in it. But you're definitely going to get some tropical fruit notes. That might be in that similar realm. I'm curious what that yuzu juice would kind of do to this one, and what kind of flavors you would get to it as well. So, but other ones that I would probably consider similar, of course, there's a couple fruited sours from Wiley Roots. They're lower ABV ones, I'd say, would kind of be in this similar realm as this one, where the flavors are a lot lighter. I wouldn't consider this one to be as watered down tasting as some of the ones from Wiley Roots, but you may be able to get similar kind of flavor profiles from those just because they're a lot lighter on flavor like this one. So let's look here and see what the description is. Of course, it's pretty simple, and it's right on the can as well. It's an Imperial fruited sour brewed with lactose, sweet cherry, mango, and peach. Yeah, self-explanatory. And with over 924 ratings, this one has an average rating of 4.01 out of 5, which isn't bad. And it says right here 7.3%, like it says in the can, all that kind of stuff. And with that 4.01 rating, that's a pretty good rating for only having 900 kind of ratings on this one. So I don't think I have anybody on my friends list who checked this one in. Nope. But let's see what the global ratings say about this. Let's see what other people say. So we got a 3.25 here. We got a 4. Let's see. We got another 3.75. We got a 4.25 purchased off Tavor. We got another 4.25. We got a 3.75. Let's see. We got a 4 purchased at Bottle Dog Bites and Brews, which is a kind of a little restaurant in is that Cary, North Carolina? I don't know if that's around Chapel Hill and all that kind of stuff. So it's a beer store / where you can get beer, poutine, all that kind of stuff on tap. That sounds like a pretty bomb location over in North Carolina. But this guy got it there. We got another 4 out of 5 purchased at the Open Bottle in Lockport, Illinois. That's a little south of me. But knowing that you can maybe able to get your hands on this stuff there if you're in like more of like the southern kind of suburbs of Chicago when it comes to going down to Lockport. Let's see. We got a 4.5 here saying perfect beer for a Caribbean island. Yeah, I think this is definitely something for a nice warm day on the beach. That's something I can definitely agree with on that one. Well, let's see. We got another 3.25 here purchased at the Open Bottle in Lockport. Another 3.75 saying the lactose is not overwhelming, which I can definitely agree with. Now that I'm starting to drink this more, getting room temperature, the cherry's definitely coming through a little bit more now. So Tavor, what else we got? That was 3.25. And the final one we're going to look at here is a 3.75, and it says pretty tart with a cherry and peach. Needed a little lactose to smooth it out. Yeah, I definitely agree. The lactose in there definitely helps make a creaminess to it, of course, with kind of smoothing out the tartness that you would get from those fruits as well. So, with all of that being said, let's start figuring out what we're going to be doing for ratings on our end over here. Let's see if I can pour the rest of this into the glass, which I can. And of course, the first thing we look at is can art. And can art for Southern Grist, they always kind of stick with like a similar kind of profile. Of course, the token things you would see is the block on the top with the flavors, so kind of with the name. And then the Southern Grist is going to be right there. But when it comes to their Hill series, when it comes to all their fruited sours, pretty much their token series when it comes to their fruited sours is their Hill line, where they do a bunch of different fruits, and it's like a bunch of different fruits, Hill. So that's how the name of the beer is going to be. But I really like the wiggly lines. I really like the detail in it. It's kind of like almost trippy, has a nice holographic note to it. I like the kind of almost like brownish red with the gold. So it's definitely a nice touch. Definitely something that would catch my attention at a liquor store or bottle shop. Just because when you see a label like this, it reminds you of a label that you would see at like a brewery when you're getting a crowler, kind of something like that. Because it's not overly taking up the can, and you just got the simple label going around the center pretty much. So it's overall, yeah, it's a really, really solid can art. I would probably give it a solid 4 out of 5 for can art for me. Really, really like it. Love the colors, love the squiggly lines, love the hill in the background. So overall, it's really clean, classy, nothing really appealing to any kind of younger crowd or anything like that. So yeah, really, really nice. So let's see. If I got this beer in a flight at Southern Grist, would I get another one? To be honest, I like it. But I don't think I would. I like it enough to say that I would go out of my way to get another one. I'd probably be happy with just having what I had in the flight glass and just leaving it at that. I definitely would like to try some of their other hills to see if the flavors are a little bit more pungent in your face kind of situations, depending on some fruits have more of those pungent flavors that come through just because they're a stronger flavor in the fruit. But overall, yeah, this is still pretty solid. It's refreshing, it's fruity. Definitely doesn't have that like token beer flavor that non-craft beer lovers seem to describe with beer. And it's just, overall, really, it's still very solid, but it's not my go-to fruited sour, I would say. So, with that being said, I think my final rating, I'm going to give this a solid 7.25 out of 10. I think I'm going to leave it at that. It's around that a 7, between a 7.25 and a 7. That's where I'm going to leave it. So overall, if you want to get your hands on this stuff, and you may like it more than I do, you may be more pungent for you than having those lighter notes come through, because everybody's flavor profiles are different. Everybody's flavor palette is subjective and all that kind of stuff. So you may like it a lot more than I do. So if you're able to get your hands on this one, give it a shot. I would love to see what other people think of this one as well. But other than that, that is pretty much what I have for you guys today. So thank you everybody in chat for hanging out. You guys are awesome. If you haven't already, please hit that like button. It would help me out a lot. Also, if you're new to the channel and like what you see, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well, along with that notification bell. It'll let you know when I ever go live, do another review. And if you want to see stuff showing up in your area from Southern Grist, of course, you can always go over to your local liquor store or bottle shop and ask them to see if they can get that stuff distributed. If they're able to get it in, they're probably going to bring it in for you, just because they always want to bring in new stuff and get rotating stock that they know is going to sell. Just because if you're at a craft beer bottle shop, that's what they want. They want new rotations, just because if it's new, that means they can get new faces in there, knowing that there may be a fan of Southern Grist that's been waiting to get their hands on this stuff, and knowing that they have a new location, they're going to get a new customer and all stuff like that. So that's one recommendation I would always do, is make sure you have a good relationship with the person doing the buying at your local liquor store or bottle shop, just because you never know what you can find and know what they can get their hands on. So, and of course, another option is going to be Tavour. You guys hear me talk about Tavour all the time when it comes to being a craft beer delivery service, which is fantastic. I absolutely love using them. They're out of Washington State, and they have over 7,000 beers available for rotating stock when it comes to what they get in. A bunch of different breweries that bring out a bunch of rarer beers, all that kind of stuff. A lot of like favorites when it comes to beers through the craft beer community. So my biggest option for you guys, if you want to get your hands on stuff, Tavour is probably going to be a good option. The only recommendation I recommend you to do is, if you're in like more of a rural area, you may not be able to get your hands on the stuff, just because they take advantage of small courier services and all that kind of stuff. But if you're in like a suburban area to where local courier service can deliver the stuff to you, you may have a good chance of getting beer from Tavour delivered to you. So all you have to do is go to their website. They'll direct you to the App Store if you're either on Android or iPhone. And when you create your account, they'll put in your zip code, and they'll let you know right away if you can get stuff delivered to you from Tavour. So if you want a referral code where you can get a free $10 worth of beer and help me out get a free $10 worth of beer as well, hit me up. I'll send you a referral code, and you can use that link to kind of create your account and all that kind of stuff. But other than that, if you're a fan of craft beer and you're on social media, you have to get yourself over to Untappd. It's a fantastic platform. You can see people like me, Kentucky Duchess is on there, Kevin's on there. A bunch of us are on there just checking in beers, having a good time. Seeing what people are drinking on there is always a really fun time. Plus, they have a bunch of different coupon codes and like different services that they promote through Untappd as well when it comes to anything through the craft beer industry. So it's just a really cool platform that is also available on Android and iPhone, or if you're using on your desktop, like you're sitting on your computer all day, you can use it through there as well. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, that is what I have for you guys today. So again, thank you everybody in chat for hanging out. You guys are amazing. And I'm going to end this like I always end it before we get the hell out of here. If you're going to drink responsibly. Don't drink and drive. And I'll see you all next time. Cheers.